Picture this. You're sitting with your friends, other moms who have gone through a divorce or are contemplating, who maybe didn't picture their lives co-parenting, but are there with you. You're sharing your stories, you're inspiring each other, validating and challenging each other through your shared experiences. You're belly laughing, tearing up, and enjoying your favorite cup of coffee all at the same time. You don't judge each other. You empower each other to continue on your journey, to heal, and to just be you, whatever that looks like. Welcome to Co-Parenting and Coffee.
Good morning.
Hello,
Hello.
welcome.
And we're recording this on the first day of spring. I'm
Did we
so
make it?
happy. We sort of made it. I mean, not without a little bit of rough edges here, but
Oh man. I
it
mean,
doesn't really feel like spring though to me because it's cold still
it,
here.
it's cold, and also like it feels like we never really got to winter. We live in Massachusetts, so usually we're buried under inches, if not feet of snow, and that really didn't happen
Mhm.
this winter.
No.
So,
But I'll take the sunshine and the looking forward to warmth and
oh God,
getting out of the
this
house.
seeing the sun alone helps my mood. I mean, it's like not
Oh my God,
normal, but
huge.
when we have those gloomy days, it's like rain and on days on end that can really get to me, which is, I guess, kind of normal. But
Yeah.
you
I
have your
think it's
coffee.
of course I have my coffee. I have my big French roast dark coffee jet fuel in my white Stanley cup that gets so disgusting because I didn't think of that I drink coffee in a white cup. It's not ideal.
So
And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some Starbucks hazelnut, and I finally caved, and I discovered through Instagram someone I've known for a long time got for Christmas, got an Ember mug, and I finally broke down a couple weeks ago and ordered myself one. And so this is a mug that hashtag Ember sponsorship, call us.
Mm.
Um, it it keeps your coffee warm. So like it rests in a charging station. It's got like rings around the bottom that charge it. You can't put it in
I
the
love
dishwasher.
that.
And
Oh
it
yeah.
keeps your coffee warm. So I don't have to microwave it like I used to. Like, well, and sometimes I do if I use a regular mug like 2 and 3 times. But if I'm working at home, I'm using my new mug, and I am loving it.
Oh, I love that. It's like a big problem for moms,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Keeping your coffee warm if you're a hot coffee drinker.
If you're a hot coffee person, I mean, I suppose you could use like a Stanley cup or something to keep it warm too, but
I'm like, you
yeah,
can't use
not
this
use a
strong hot
straw.
coffee. I
But
get
even those don't necessarily keep, like, I go all the way to the bottom and my coffee's hot. It's like life changing, not gonna lie.
that for
Anyway.
you. Although we are kind of I think we should admit to our friends here that we're having kind of an internal conflict here because
The
because you
temperature
really
battles.
yes, because you're really hot coffee and I'm really iced coffee. We're trying to work it out. Um,
Agree to disagree.
yeah, respectfully. But
Respectfully. I mean, who knows? We could record in July, and and I may end up sitting here with a nice coffee with you,
yeah.
you know?
I do drink hot coffee maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, that's how I am with iced coffee. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. We can't be exactly the same. We agree on almost
No.
everything.
Yeah. That is true. We have to have a little bit.
A bit of tension there. Come on.
Yeah.
So,
So if you're
Jill,
I think that we should do a poll of who drinks iced coffee and who drinks hot coffee, even though I feel like unless they're Northeast people, that you might win, which is,
I
bothering me
bet you
because
there's
I'm
some
very
like
competitive.
Cali people who do. I bet you there's more than you think, but maybe I'm wrong. I think that's a great idea. We should totally post a poll.
Whoever wins the poll,
Yeah,
like whoever has to buy the other one coffee. That's what
love
I
this.
think.
Love this. I'll figure out how to do a poll on Instagram and see if we can get people to do it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a quote. I got it from a calendar that my mom gave me for Christmas that I love, and I save all the quotes in my desk drawer because I'm like such a quote dork. But I thought today's quote was like the perfect one. So, your home is an extension of your energy field. This is why practices like cleaning your home, rearranging furniture, organizing your closet, and getting rid of objects that are cluttering your space can have a profound impact on your mind, body, and spirit. And that was a quote by Maryam Hasnaa.
Gosh,
And
I
I love
love
that
that.
quote.
I love
Yeah.
that because it reminds me of, and I'm even still doing it, so I stayed in the house we were living in together.
Hmm.
And so I have been making like little changes here and there that just make it more mine.
Yeah.
That's felt so good and so
I
healing.
think that's so, if you are gonna, especially I think if you are staying in the house, that's a huge part of, like, taking it back, like,
Yeah,
that it's yours, and, I think a lot of women, like, paint their bedroom bright pink or something, like, and then maybe transit later, but
totally. I
make it
got like a
more
pink
them,
floral
or
bedspread. It was the best.
yeah. Um, but I mean, I moved and got a new home, um, but I still feel this way, like, you know, when I'm feel especially, like, I think it's a great quote for, like, the start of spring, because,
Yeah.
like, I just envision, like, you can open your windows and let some fresh air in and clean out stuff, and it makes such a huge impact on my mood, or,
Yes.
like, what's going on, or and I feel like when I feel more anxious and I do a project like that, it, like, calms me for some reason. And, I love DIY.
You are the queen of DIY in my world.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, as long as you don't look just don't look too close, that's all.
you're not why you're not like top-notch craftsmanship here.
No,
It's
no, no.
DIY.
Mine's more like, yeah, DIY, AKA my line is, "As long as it looks better than it looked before,
Yeah,
then I'm happy."
that's awesome. Okay, well, we are delighted to have our coffee date here with us today. Lindsey Hall is our guest, and she is a divorce and intimacy coach who specializes in supporting humans through the transformational life experiences of divorce, dating, and co parenting. Her mission is to help people turn their pain into power, reconnect with their truest selves, and embrace messy growth, courage, joy, and pleasure. She went through her own divorce during lockdown with two tiny children and has been mostly peacefully 50-50 co-parenting for the past 2 years, and now draws on both her personal experiences and trauma-informed coach training to support her clients. Lindsey, welcome to Co-Parenting and Coffee.
Yes, we're so excited to have you.
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to this.
I want
Amazing.
to like jump right into it because the thing that I was like most excited about was like, what's an intimacy
Mhm.
coach?
I get that question a
Yeah,
lot. Most
what does
people
that mean?
think like you
Right.
must mean sexual intimacy,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And
so it's interesting.
yeah, and certainly there's an element of that, but
Mhm.
intimacy is so much more than that. And it really means like getting close and cozy to all parts of yourself, being willing to go deep, to be vulnerable, to trust yourself, to love yourself. And then that extends out to that same kind of intimacy with another person. And then you get physical intimacy and sexual intimacy as well. But really it starts with kind of that inner peace.
Mhm.
Can you tell us, maybe give us an example of, obviously without sharing identifying details, but like what kind of scenarios do you find with clients who are, doing this work? Like, what kinds of discoveries, what things are they avoiding? I don't know. You can speak sort of generally if you want, but I'd just love to know what is the experience like for people?
Um, well, it really I'll start with kind of my experience and how I got into that. That's right.
Oh,
And
that's
then
great. Yeah.
yeah, because it started with like thinking, well, when I split up, at first I thought it was entirely my ex's fault. Like he
Mhm.
was the one who made the decision to leave. And it was really easy to look at it and go, well, this was all you.
Right.
Like that, I'm the victim here. And then as I started getting coaching and doing this inner work, I made a whole bunch of realizations. I was like, "Oh, shit, there's actually a whole lot of my stuff here too that I just
Mhm.
wasn't even willing to look at before." Stuff where I would put walls up that I didn't even know I had up, or would
Mm.
stop him from even being able to connect. I was able to look back and go, "Oh, all that stuff that I was mad that you didn't do," whether it was like physical stuff around the house or emotional stuff, I'm like, I can now look back and see how I blocked your attempts at all of that stuff. So no wonder you kind of stopped trying. And it really meant looking at all these pieces of me that maybe I wasn't perfect and having compassion for that. And then finding ways to grow from there, even if I didn't love the way I had done it. And so it often is similar stuff like that with clients where it's like they might come and I mean, most people are aware that they're not totally perfect in it, but they'll go, "Oh, my ex is doing all of this stuff and I don't know how to move forward." And it's when we start looking at, like, well, why are you trying to control everything that your ex does? Like you're spending all this energy controlling that. And then you will look at like, because of this need to control, because everything else in our lives is out of control. And so this is the bit that we can do. And it's like, okay, putting that down or seeing where, well, control's a big one. That's the one that's been hot with clients this week. So that's top of my head. But it's stuff like that where it's like, oh, all of these things that like I'm maybe mad at my ex for or mad about what happened. And now I have to look at my part of it and look at how I want to change it going forward.
Yeah, it's hard. It's sometimes really hard to look at where you contributed to the problem or, but yeah, that's seems like the place to go, right? That's really the only thing you can change. So it
Yeah,
makes sense.
even years afterwards, like when you're past the breakup phase, but like,
Right.
I've been co-parenting for several years now and
Yeah.
we'll get into a grumpy text exchange
Yep.
and it's like, and I
Yeah.
think he's being a complete asshole. And then
Yeah.
I read the text back later and go, there's a possible chance that I misinterpreted his tone or that I overreacted in
Well, I
that.
think text is so hard sometimes.
It is.
The tone is so difficult. Like, and sometimes I'll even start out a text conversation saying, I know you're going to read this in this tone that it's not meant to be in. So
Yeah.
if you need clarification, let's have a conversation. Because there's been so many times where it's like, that's not even at all what I'm saying, but I can reread the text and see where you would get that tone from.
Yeah. And you can try and use the right words. Like we had one
Yeah.
recently where it was like, it said like, hey, and please. And like the
Right.
words were there, but I read it as this like, you're telling me what to do. And I was like, I'm
Right.
not gonna do that. And then I was like, oh, well, it actually didn't say that, but maybe it was my spin, or maybe you did mean it that way.
Right.
But I don't know because it was on text.
Right.
Right. It's like you'd be like, can you please? There's like, can you please?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you please stop? Yeah.
There's a question can be a real question, or it can be like when you ask your kids, like, can you take your plate to the kitchen? That wasn't really a question. That wasn't take your plate to the kitchen.
I'm thinking about some of the scenarios I'm aware of, and sort of along the lines of the texting. There's some parents who, they co-parent, sort of in the sort of the verb of it. And then there are some who have to parallel parent. And do you work with some folks who are in that space? Because there is a lot of the texting and the emails or our family wizard and stuff in those situations. And it can be really hard for them to even want to interact with their ex, right? It can be a very stressful experience.
Even triggering, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Have
Can
to
you speak to
communicate
that?
with their ex.
Yeah, definitely. And I always really advocate for people like to put their piece first and to really prioritize their piece. And so sometimes that means, like sharing photos of the kids and fun stories when it's on their time or not. And sometimes it means you only share the bare minimum of like, the exact handover information, and really understanding that there is no right way to do any of this. Like,
Right.
even if it's your first time doing it, or if you've co-parented before in another relationship, or if you're working with parenting coaches or any of it, like there's no one size fits all with any of this. And it changes even within a co-parenting relationship. It can change over time. And so really understanding that like it's just about kind of meeting where you're at in that moment, looking to where you want to be with it, and trying to take the actions that like match up those 2 points, but understanding that it might not be the way for you that it is for other people. And that's okay too.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, every situation is so different. And like I think that's the hard and good part about co-parenting is like because your kids are always changing, their needs are always changing, their growth, their development's always changing. Like everything is always changing, right? So of course your relationship's going to change. Like when you're co-parenting with someone, when you have an infant, a lot different than when you have a 10-year-old that can walk out to the car with their backpack on and you can wave from the window, as opposed to, packing up and all that stuff. So it does change. It changes a lot. And I think it's important to look at, where you're going for you, but then also like sort of managing your expectations or understanding that change is always coming will help, I think.
Yeah. And when you're doing all of that, like managing the kids' expectations as well. I mean,
Right.
6-year-old has recently started asking why we can't all live in one big house together. And by
Right.
we all, she means me, her dad, his new partner, her ex-husband, and his new partner. So that her stepsister's parents can be there too. And I was like, yeah, that is not happening, kid. But delivering that in a sensitive way to a 6-year-old rather than being like, get lost.
Right. We're not doing that.
The sweet innocence of a 6-year-old who doesn't understand like adult dynamics and
which is such a nice place to be.
Yeah, right. A little jealous.
She'd really like us to get married again, but then she's grasped the fact that we can't do that because stepmom's in the picture. So why can't we just all be together?
Yes. Right. Big happy family. There we are.
That's called, isn't that like Sister Wives? Like the like all like living on a commune. Oh my God.
That's a different podcast.
It's a different topic. So what does trying to think of the right way to approach this question, but what does it look like when someone, finds their way towards more intimacy with themselves? Do they come to you at the outset with a goal, or do they come in sort of open to exploration? Like, how does it work?
That's a really good question. I tend to get people who are maybe sort of through the very thick, like that first part of divorce and separation where it's like you're just trying to make it day by day.
The survival.
Yeah. Like once people are a little bit past that and they're like, this has just been this heavy weight for however long, and I am sick of this weight on me. Or, I find myself like going over this same cycle again and again, and I am sick of it, but I don't know how to get myself out of it. Like, how the hell do I move on from here? And generally, because when like in coaching, it's really helpful to have this end goal. And I sometimes get jealous of like my business coach friends who are like, my goal is so many new clients or this revenue. And I'm like, yeah, mine, it's a lot wishy-washier than that. But it tends to be more like, I just want peace, or I want to be able to do handovers without it feeling like this constant trigger, but often that sense of peace is actually really what people are like, oh, I just want that weight to be gone. I want to feel like I am moving forward rather than this stuckness that I've been in.
What's it like to witness that transformation?
So good. It's so amazing when people come and are like, I just can't ever see a way forward. And like I haven't witnessed this transformation yet, but I can imagine it because I talked to somebody this week who her spouse cheated on her, and he is still with the new woman and wants to have a relationship with her. And although it's been like a while, she's still at the point where she's like, I can't even speak her name. I want her to fall off the face of the planet. And like, she's just everything. And I could say to her, like, yeah, I've totally been there. Like, I couldn't say her name either. I want her to fall off the face of the planet. And now, like, it's that same woman in my kids' lives. And I actually text her more than I text my ex. And, we do have this form of relationship. And she was like, I can't even imagine that. I was like, I know you can't, and maybe it won't be that like that for you, but I can tell you it's possible.
Right.
And so like knowing what's possible for them. And then, but yeah, the ones who have moved through that and are like, oh my God, I actually can like feel this weight lifting off my shoulders. It's just like the coolest thing in the world.
It is. It's my favorite thing, definitely.
Hmm.
I also love the transformation from like the all-consuming like terror and weight to like when you get to like when you're interacting and there's nothing. Like
Yeah.
it's just like transactional, kind even. Like, oh hey, how are you? Oh good, okay. Just like, another soccer mom or something. Like it's so freeing and I love seeing that and feeling that for people. It's like so amazing.
Yeah. To go from like, I used to go to the grocery store and just have like be so tense the whole time because what if I come around the corner and she's there, or
Right. Oh,
her
yeah.
like throwing sippy cups at her head or something I would never in a million years do, but that was what was in my head. And now it's like we do drop off and it's like I'll just spend 20 minutes chatting about, whatever games the kids were playing and hearing stories about her kids and what they've been up to. And it's like, oh, this is so neutral. Kind of like you said, like we're not best friends. I don't
Right.
call her for coffee, but
Right.
it's neutral. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
this is such a relief.
Right. Well, and it's for you and for your kids. Like, and
Yeah.
you did all the work to get there, which is amazing. Like,
Yeah, the kids totally benefit from that.
oh, for sure. If it can happen, like, so I also always like it can't always happen. Like
Yes.
sometimes the other side you just cannot. You can do all the work you want for yourself, and that's great, but it's up to the other side to a point of the relationship, anyways.
Yeah. So you might not get to that place where with the other person it is that level of let's just chit chat or whatever. But I do think you can do enough work in yourself where you get to the point where you don't feel
Yes.
triggered and wound up. Like maybe you do drop off and they, still say nasty stuff or don't
Right.
talk to whatever, but you can just get to the
Like,
point
all
where you're like,
right, see you later.
okay,
Right.
bye. Here's their stuff. See you later. Like it rather
Right.
than going away, spending all that time, like, oh my gosh, you're just like, eh.
Yeah. I have a question. How do when something like when you're dealing with this type of thing, how do you sort of appreciate the pain that you've been through, right? Or recognize it, but also like not stay stuck in it. Like I think sometimes I don't know I don't know how to explain it. Like the thing I'm thinking about right now is like even like in domestic violence situations or in situations where it's like maybe more outwardly egregious, right? And then it's not that you maybe want to forgive that person or that you don't want to like say like you don't want to like victimize yourself, but you also like want to recognize that like you were a victim of whatever happened. Like how do you move forward from that?
Yeah, I I hate the phrase everything happens for a reason
Right.
because like when you're looking at domestic violence or something, no, that did not need to happen to get to you to where you are now. Like it didn't happen for a reason. Sometimes bad shit does just happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that you can take something from every experience, you can use it as like fertilizer for growth.
Mhm.
So even when it's like bad stuff like that, you can go, okay, and I'm not necessarily even saying like, what can I learn? Well, you can
Right.
somewhat, but it's more of like, okay, what's my takeaway from that?
Right.
And
Right. It's
what do
almost like
I,
recognizing that it happened and
yeah.
then like almost two separate things. Like I've experienced that too. It's like
Mhm.
sometimes like, oh, this happened and now I'm gonna like take this as an opportunity for growth. But
Mhm.
then there's some things that happen that you're like, I can't see an opportunity for growth. Like you can almost separate it.
Yeah, and it can be like it was it's part of your story,
Yeah.
Right.
but it doesn't have to be the thing that defines you. It doesn't have to be the
Right.
thing that holds you back. It's
Right.
part of it.
Right.
And look at the rest of the story that I'm writing now.
Right.
I love that. And as I think about some of the women I know who have been subjected to abuse, whether it was physical, emotional, financial, coercive control,
Mhm.
th- they are all, smart and accomplished and um really intelligent women, right? I think that there is a bias for judgment that, you know, it must be someone who is uneducated or what's that?
Weak.
Weak, yes.
Yeah.
And my point in saying all of this is that I can imagine someone who has been through that wanting to not have, like, how would they not go through that again? How can they trust themselves?
Mm.
Right? Or, you know, I can think of several of them who are like, I could never, ever date again. They, you know, they don't want anyone to even come near them because they're so terrified of being put through that again.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
their trust even for themselves. I mean, I think that could be where an intimacy coach would be really, really helpful.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of how you approach that?
Yeah, because I do generally people kind of come with the question of how will I ever trust somebody else again?
Right.
And exactly like you just said, Jill, I turn it into it starts with trusting yourself because
Yeah.
that is the foundation of
Right.
all the rest of it. And so when you've been through something like that, there is a lot of like people tend to put a lot of shame on themselves then and go, yeah, I must have done something wrong or I must be wrong to have let that happen.
Mhm.
And so really looking at like how do you build up that trust in yourself again? And I start in really small ways, like
Yeah.
just really small things like when it comes to deciding what to eat to dinner, like ask like rather than just reaching for the default, like stop and ask yourself, do I want this or that? And listen to the answer, or like start noticing throughout the day, like all the opportunities you have to like just listen to your own answers on things. And, or, you know, like, how many cookies do you want to eat? We often will be like, oh, I can only eat 2 because otherwise I might eat all of them and I can't be trusted to not eat all.
Mhm.
And going, okay, well, just like pause and listen to yourself and like have a cookie, see if you want another one. And you know, start to build that trust that like, you might not eat the entire package of cookies, or maybe you will. And actually that's okay.
I actually would. So.
Yeah, and that's okay too. And being like, oh, well, that wasn't the end of the world. Like, you know, and so I start in like really small ways and then building up to that and going and really working on that fact that like, even if you like make a wrong choice in something, it can always be like remedied or course correct or do something else. Like nothing is set in stone, irretrievable. Like we can always, but by kind of taking those little steps forward, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I do have trust in myself. And then that very much comes into relationships then because it's if you know that like you can trust you at the end of the day, then it feels a bit safer to go forward with other people because you're like, oh, I'll trust myself to know if this situation doesn't feel good and I can get myself out of it. And you're not the same person that you were when you started that last relationship. Like you now have a whole new pool of experience to pull on. Yes, you might repeat some of the same stuff because as humans, we do tend to repeat old behaviors, but you have so much more knowledge now and so much more experience. And you can go, hang on, something doesn't feel right here. And when you've got that trust in yourself, you can go, I'm going to react differently this
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, you have different tools too. Like,
Mhm.
how long does like if a client like engages with you or something? How long is the typical? Like, how long do you typically work with them? Does it just ongoing? Because I mean, obviously changes happen, or is it like usually more at the beginning and like less over time?
That's a really good question. I definitely prefer longer term stuff because
Mhm.
this is slower,
Right.
longer term work. Like it's not the kind of thing where I just give you a set of tools and off you go and like you're all done. It is like, oh, we need to bed this in over and over.
Yeah.
Um, so I prefer to do like 6-month packages to start with.
Mm.
But then that does often get renewed. And I definitely have people as well who like come and go. So
Right.
like my longest term client has worked with me for about 2.5 years, but in like she'll take months off in between and like we're off at the moment. And it's like I never want people to feel like they need me in this. Like, the point is to empower you to do it on your own,
Right.
but also to know that if something new comes up that you do need some support for, you
Right.
can always come back. Like, the door's never closed, but
Right.
so it's sort of a tricky, like, I want you to be here for as long as you need to be here and to feel empowered.
Right.
You're ready to fly on your own whenever you are.
Yeah, but I like that, you know, if things come up that you can always come back to, which is nice because things always come up, right?
Yeah. And actually, when I said that, like, often people renew,
Mhm.
they don't often renew straight away. Like, actually, often, because the work is kind of so intense that usually it's like you do that first block, and then
Yeah.
people are like,
Break.
I need a bit of breathing space now. Like, let me
I
let
don't
that
want to
in.
work on myself anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still get that where I'm like, absolutely done with this whole growth
Right.
malarkey. Like, this is tiring and hard. I don't want to do anymore. And it's like, okay, let's just let this new level like sink in. And then when you're like, okay, I'm ready for some more now. Like,
How to catch my breath. Yeah.
yeah.
So I could see someone listening at home or in their car asking, well, how is intimacy coaching different from therapy?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I get that question a lot, and I always find it tricky to answer because, like, so many therapists work in different ways and so many coaches work in different ways. But as a broad generalization, therapy does tend to look more backwards looking, and coaching does tend to look more forwards looking. We do, like, in my coaching, we will look backwards if we need to, for sure. But, like, in the context of how is it affecting the here and now and the going forward bit. Whereas a lot of therapy can be kind of the what happened in the past and processing that. So as well as therapy, the therapists are supposed to, like, kind of remove themselves from the equation. Like, it's all about the person who's seeing the therapist. Whereas in coaching, the coach gets to bring more of themselves in. So, like, for me personally, I found that super helpful because my coaches could then be like, oh, I've gone through the same experience and here's how I went through it. Or they can bring in a bit more of, I've had other clients, you know, who have done this, that, or the other. And so there's a bit more back and forth, which I found really helpful. So some, like, one can work better for somebody or the other. But yeah, coaching tends to be a little bit more back and forth and definitely more forward looking.
So does somebody come in, and maybe I already kind of asked this question, but are they looking for a specific, I don't want to say outcome, that's not like, that sounds very diagnostic, right? But like, uh, is there a specific goal in mind that they have, or is it just like, I just really want to feel better?
Yeah, it is more of the, I really want to feel better, which I am finding tricky in my marketing.
Right.
Like, my business coaches are going, but what's the problem? And I'm like, it's just that people say, like, I'm tired of it feeling this heavy, or I want
Yeah.
to. I get people a lot of the time, actually, what they say is, like, how do I get my confidence back again? Or how do I find myself again?
Yeah.
So they are goals, but again,
Sure.
not as specific as like a number goal or it's like, how do I find myself again? I then struggle to be like, there, you have
Right.
found yourself. It's
Right.
accomplished.
Yeah. I remember that when we had talked before, you had talked about the pyramid of intimacy. Can we talk about that? Because I think that was
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. So it's the intentional intimacy pyramid. And my coach, Chelsea Page, was the one who taught it to me. But so the foundational level is intimacy with self,
Right.
which is where I talked about that, like, it's your inner stuff. Then the next level is intimacy, emotional intimacy with someone else. Then there's physical intimacy, and then there's sexual intimacy. Excuse me. And as you go up that pyramid, like, it requires more trust, more vulnerability, more connection. And like, I had a client this week who was talking about she'd been on her first date since her divorce, and they ended up in bed together on their first date. Like, she has been dying to get back into bed with somebody. But she said it, like, she felt really, like, self-confident, and it wasn't, sorry, she felt did I say self-confident? She wasn't
Yeah.
confident.
Opposite.
Yeah.
Self-conscious, yeah.
Um,
No,
So, and she was like, why? Like, have I lost the ability to do this? And I talked her through that pyramid and said, like, no, because you didn't have that emotional intimacy and the physical intimacy. That's not to say you can't have great sex that goes right to the top of the pyramid.
right.
But for some people, like the experience massively depends on building up to that.
Right.
And so which happens in marriages too, and in relationships. Like when the sex starts to suffer, it's often because the levels below that are suffering.
Right.
But when you're working on the problems, like I know my ex and I had seen a sex therapist, and they kind of started at the top. They started with the sex piece. And actually now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, it's because I needed to start at the bottom of the pyramid and work my way
Right.
up. That would have helped more.
Hard to
Yeah.
enjoy it if you don't like the person, right? Like,
Yeah, that's kind of a key piece.
Never quit. I mean, I think the pyramid thing, I can totally understand it, because it's like you need the foundation. Like you need yourself, the foundation first, to then go on to the next
Mhm.
level, which makes so much sense. And I like picturing it that way, because I think it
Mhm.
just makes sense. Like,
Yeah. And it's not to say, like I said, like you can skip ahead levels, but
oh yeah,
it's not as strong. Like, so when there's
right.
problems, it's look
You
downwards
gotta
and
go back
strengthen
down. Yeah.
foundations. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
How does your work impact? I mean, I'm sure you work with people who don't have children, but certainly in the co-parenting space, right? The ultimate goal is to have a good outcome for your kids, right? So that they thrive and do well despite this change in their lives. So do you often hear from clients about their kids or the work impacting their kids, or I don't know, can you speak to any of that? You can answer that however you want.
Mhm.
Yeah. I always think like the work that we do on ourselves massively impacts the kids. I think that they can feel our emotions as well. So like if you're going to do a handover and you're really stressed and like don't want them to go to their dad's house, and you're like assuming it's all gonna go wrong, and or you're like, oh, I'm gonna be distraught when you're not here. Like your kids can feel that, and then the handover probably won't go very well, and they could be crying and acting out and all of that. Whereas when we can be like, no, this is fine. Like I feel calm and regulated, and I will see you when you get home. And then like that tends to make a better experience for the kids. Um, which isn't to say that the kids might not act out anyway, or, it's
Yeah.
like that, all of that stuff happens, but they can totally feel the impact of that work that we do. Um, and thinking about like the other parent and like like a new step parent sort of thing coming in, my kids feel so much better knowing that like they get to talk about their stepmom. And like
Mhm.
last year on Mother's Day, they were with me on Mother's Day only, and they were like, but we don't understand why we don't get to be with her too. So this year on Mother's Day, they're spending some time with her first and then with me, which I never could have let happen in those early years. Like that
Right.
would have just killed me. In the very beginning, I wouldn't have let it happen. And then
Mhm.
later on, I would have let it happen, but I would have been like
Torture.
really, yeah, torture about it. And now this year, I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm glad that like they're with me for more of the day. Like
Right.
it's weighted in my favor. But I'm like, yeah, okay, this is, if you want to spend time with her too, that's okay. And so they definitely get the benefit of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a transition. Definitely. I can totally understand that. I think that's like a perfect example of like the first year, no way. And then the second year. And then in a couple years, you're like, can you take him for the day so I can have the day off on Mother's Day?
I want to run the spa. Goodbye.
Right. Actually, you know what? I'll see him the next day. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Like you can get there, and it's all, it's not all up to you, but it's like the amount of work you do for yourself and the relationship you have with your kids that matters, right?
Yeah. We definitely still have stuff where like, because some families really, really co-parent where like you're aligned in the way that you parent in both households and you really like share values and maybe even like, discipline and stuff like that. And
Oh,
we're
very
not
ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We very much don't agree on some of that stuff and
Mhm.
have just agreed to not agree and gone.
Yeah. Which I think
The
is
first time you
fair.
question.
Which is fair, like you're different households. So, but
Yeah, like one time, their dad asked, like, can we agree that if we punish them, say take away TV for a week, that you'll carry that on there? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not setting that precedent because
right.
we might very much disagree on
Mhm.
what the infraction was and what the punishment should be. And so all of that needs to be self-contained within each house.
Mhm.
And that can be confusing for the kids. Like, I can grant that and go, gosh, it is hard that they have to learn these two sets of expectations and two sets of rules. And also, it just has to be that way for us because it's not going to get to a place, at least anytime soon, where we agree on those kinds of things. So there's also an element of like what's best for the kids. Like it's still not ideal for them, but it's
Mhm.
better than me and their dad fighting over all of these nitty-gritty details that we're just not going to agree on.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like it keeps coming back to sort of like letting go of some of the control when you don't have the control. Like, and that's really hard, I think, as a mom, especially. I mean, maybe just because that's my experience, but um
Yeah.
having that control over your child or their upbringing in certain ways and stuff is really hard.
And we have stuff where like, they'll come here and say, well, we're not allowed to say that at their house. And I'm like, well, you can say it here.
Mhm.
Like, we're like, but that's a swear at their house. I'm like, it's not a swear at my house. If you would
Right.
like to continue not saying it, that's
Right.
fine.
Right.
I'm gonna treat it as a swear across all the boards. But if you're testing my boundaries to see if I'm going to yell at you or not, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Right. Do you ever come across clients who sort of building on that experience a scenario where their ex is trying to exert control in your house and like there's a boundary that really needs to be set and held?
Yeah, and sometimes I'm thinking of two examples. Sometimes it's like setting a boundary in your stuff, where like I've had one where at drop off, the ex would come in and try and like enforce the rules, but in their house. And that I worked with my client to set the boundary of like, actually drop offs only happen at the doorway because it felt too intrusive to come into the house. So it's like, nope, unless you're invited in, handoffs happen at the doorway. And if you try and, like tell the kids what to do in my house, I am like, that's going to be the end of handover, conversation ended. Because again, like boundaries are very much what you're going to do and not do. So telling them, don't try and enforce the rules here. It has to be if you do this, I'm just going to shut the door. That's conversation over.
Yeah.
But then another situation that I was thinking of was where like a client, her ex was getting really mad that every time she sent the kid back, like the kid was 4 and she was picking out her own outfits. And if you've ever let a 4-year-old pick out her own outfit, you'll know that they can be a little out there
Yeah,
sometimes.
sure.
And so the dad was getting mad that like every time the kid comes back, she looks like a complete mess.
Mm.
And the mom was like, why is this the problem? And was mad that he was getting mad. But then the mom was mad that every time the dad dropped the kids off, like the kid had never brushed her hair. And, well, can't you brush the kid's hair? And so we worked on like, okay, the dad can be mad about the mismatched outfit. And that's his problem, not yours. Like, it's not your job to manage his emotions. If he wants to go home and change her into something matching, let him. Equally, you need to let go of the fact that their hair's not brushed because you can't make them brush their hair before they come. If she
Right.
shows up and her hair is the bird's nest, comb it.
Right.
But like by wasting the energy getting mad that he didn't brush it, or by trying to like tell him to stop being mad about the clothes, all of that is just wasting your energy. It's like you draw that emotional boundary and go, you can deal with the clothes thing. I'll sort my own stuff with the hair thing. there we go.
Right. Oh, clothes is such a big one.
I was just thinking that, Jill and I were
Oh,
talking about this. Clothes
yeah.
is like the biggest source of conflict, I feel like, among
Especially like between houses, like
Yes.
people forgetting stuff. Oh God, it's brutal.
The
We need to
favorite
like
thing at the other house.
yes, always. Or the thing they need the most for the next day is always at the other parent's house. Always,
Mhm.
no matter
Mhm.
what. And I've
Yeah.
experienced on both sides of that, and it's awful. Yeah.
I very much, as a teenager, when my parents split up, I thought that it was just perfectly rational. I should have 2 of all of my favorite things,
Everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which my parents didn't agree with. And actually, but now as a parent, I'm like, no, I can still see the benefit of that.
Right, yes,
Yeah,
totally.
sometimes, but also there is a cost to that sometimes where
Yep.
like if they're like in sports and they have like special equipment and then they bring it
Yeah.
in and then they forget it and they have a game the next day, it's like or
And also they would
glasses,
wear
like
their favorite stuff to like on handover day, and then suddenly both
yes.
pairs of the good things are over there. And
Right.
there is no actual solution, is there?
There's no coach for that. There's
Nope. Sorry, nobody can help you with this.
no, we need a system for it though. I don't know. It's unsolvable.
Yep.
Yeah, I think those things are a reasonable challenge, right? And but then you get the other issues where, maybe a parent feels like the clothes they bought should be at their house and
Mhm.
God, it's like, are they coming in with clothes on? Are they coming out with different clothes? Like, you're still getting the same amount of clothes. What difference does it make who bought it? But
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, yeah, jokes that there's an element of like, but the focus is on the kids. At the
Right.
end of the
Yep.
day, it's the kids' clothes, not
Right.
yours.
right, right.
So, like, did you buy the clothes for you or did you buy them for the kids? And like, that's what, when we start to get wound up about, that's what I come back to is like, they're their clothes. If I bought them this really cool outfit and I would rather stay at my house, but it's their favorite thing, then
Yeah.
they get to wear it wherever they are and they're happy. And that's the main point.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, I mean, such a like easy example, and I think something that most people going between houses deal with, but that is like where you do the work where you're not going to get wound up about that type of thing as much, or you can like manage it in a different way than if you don't, and it's like constant, like just another battle, like that you just
Mhm.
don't need. Well, thank you
Uh,
so much.
yeah, well, we have one more question,
Oh,
and that's
yeah. The most
co-parenting and coffee. So we have to ask you about your favorite coffee. What do you drink? What kind of coffee is your favorite? What do you drink?
I very much prefer coffee that tastes more like dessert than coffee.
ah,
So usually
Milky
like,
style.
yeah, it's usually got a flavored syrup in it, like a vanilla latte would be what I order usually if I go out. I should also point out that I live in England and we don't do as fancy of coffees here as
Yeah.
in America. So when I go back home to visit, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need
there's
one of
so many
everything.
options. Yeah.
Well, Lindsay, it's been awesome chatting with you. Where can people find you?
Lindsey Hall Coaches. So it's my website, my Instagram, my Facebook, all the things. Lindsey Hall Coaches.
Yeah,
Super.
and we'll link it all in the show
Show
notes
notes. Yep.
so they
Perfect.
can find you. Thank you so much. Thanks for I think my favorite thing was learning about what the difference between coaching and therapy was. I never knew that. That's really a good way to think of it. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing
Cool.
that.
I'm glad you found it helpful. Like I
Yeah.
said, sometimes I struggle to explain it. So I'm
Yeah,
glad
no,
that
that's a perfect explanation. So
I'll write that one down.
Right. Thank you.
thank you.
Wow. That was really cool listening
I
to Lindsay
know.
share her work and the
She's
difference,
so awesome.
totally the difference between therapy and coaching and
And now we're going to talk about our new favorite segment, right? Our story
yeah,
segment. And
yes.
Allie's going to read today, which
Yep.
I'm so
My
excited
turn
about.
to read. I sometimes think about the me of years ago. I didn't see it clearly. I was so caught up in making it work, walking on eggshells around him, wondering which version of him I was going to get on any given day. I was exhausted, anxious, and stressed out all the time. And then when I saw it, what they say is true. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The moment it struck, and I knew that this marriage was never going to deliver on the dreams we had all those years ago, because he was never going to become the man I saw he could become. He was unwilling, really, and so I knew what I had to do. Boy, was I terrified. And once I listened to the call and untied the proverbial cinder blocks from my feet, I reached the surface. I could breathe. It had been so long since I could breathe. And slowly, day by day, bit by bit, I found my way back to me, the real me. God, where had she been? What had I done to her? I had so much grief for those years where he husked me into a shell of my former self. I battled back. I went to therapy. I joined a support group. I got a new job. I started new creative pursuits. I focused more on my kids. I followed my gut more and more. And then the rising came, the professional success, the slow and steady equilibrium for my kids. They stopped struggling too. I'm honestly stunned by how great my life is now, how comfortable I am being single, living alone half the time, and the other half loving on my babies and grateful for every minute with them. Maybe someday I'll forgive him, but at least for now, I've forgiven myself. And that has been the most liberating feeling.
Oh my God. That was such a good story. I loved it.
You know, I'm glad that we were able to get an inspirational story. I hope that gives others inspiration, maybe
Yeah.
some
And
courage,
mhm,
maybe some strength.
yeah, I think that I wrote down the real me because
Yeah.
that's the part of this whole process that if you take that opportunity, you can find. And it sounds like this person did that, and it's the best part. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
best part out of a shitty situation. And
Yeah.
I
No
think,
one ever expects to get divorced when they get married, right? You're
right, yeah,
full of
nobody wants that.
hope and dreams and expectation and excitement. And, I think gosh, I could think back to when I was in that place, that
Hmm.
place of like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a divorced person. Even now I look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm a divorced woman. Like that was such a like horrible, like associated with such horrible things. And it was, I mean, at times
Hmm.
it was horrible for me,
Yeah.
but the horrible of the divorce compared to the horrible of staying in this broken relationship.
Hmm.
Whoa. Whoa. And
Right.
yeah, and I've seen it in you, and you've seen it in me, and we've seen it in some of our friends. It's so
Yeah.
incredible to see.
It's empowering to
Oh
see
my
other
God.
people, like, yeah, it's amazing. Um, and if you do find yourself in this situation, I hope that you can find the strength and take the opportunity to find and regain yourself because
Hmm.
that is the opportunity in this.
Totally.
And I'm
Totally.
not saying it's easy, but I'm
No.
100% not saying it's easy. So,
Some days it's really, really, really hard,
yep,
even
for
now,
sure.
right?
Hmm.
But
Absolutely.
for me, was it worth it? Totally.
Agreed.
All
All
right.
right. Well,
We'll
thank you
see,
so much,
we'll
and
see
we'll
you
see you
next
next
time.
time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us for Co-Parenting and Coffee. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. If you liked our podcast, feel free to drop us a review. We'd appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next time for a cup of coffee and a chat with another expert on co-parenting.